On to the wingers. You've got To'o and Adokar versus Cobbo and Tuolangi. So do we have... So Cobbo will be on the left against Carr?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go Cobbo versus Carr. Adokar, 7 games, 6 tries, 0 try assists, 23 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 85% tackles efficiency, 116 average metres.
Sorry, I think Cobbo will be on the right, actually.
I've got Cobbo right.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the right.
Cobbo right and To'o
Against To'o.
left.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll do Adokar versus Tuolangi. So Tuolangi, 10 games, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 16 tackle breaks, 9 line breaks, 72% tackle efficiency, 141 metres. I've got to say, I actually thought Tuolangi has played less games than that. And that's no disrespect to Tuolangi. I actually think he's been quiet this year. Adokar, we all know what he can do at the Origin level. How do you see this battle playing out?
Yeah, I think with Murray, first of all, like, I'm the same. I didn't expect him to play 10 games. I think he has been quiet. But I also think, like, when you're not a winger like Brian To'o that's known for running for 220 metres, and he's not that sort of a winger, and that's okay. When your team's going as poorly and they're as dysfunctional as the Cowboys, I don't know, it can be hard to judge. And to be honest with you, I probably haven't watched him as intently as Billy Slater has to know where his form is at exactly, just because the Cowboys have been going so poorly. But we'll get to the centre soon. I still would have picked Dangago. I didn't have Murray Tuolangi in my side.
It's a huge opportunity for him to be one of those typical Queensland selections where a lot of people would have said, oh, he's a bit too quiet to be in there, and then he goes to Origin and he absolutely kills it. Because it feels like forever ago, but he was in the World Cup squad. That's how good he was last year. And his finishing ability, we talk about Reece Walsh and they're creating space, and there's no space in Origin. Finishing-wise, he's one of the best finishers in the game, if not arguably the best finisher in the game. You go back and watch Tuolangi's highlights, some of his finishes are out of this world. And maybe Billy Slater is going the route of, I just need, you're big enough to do the big carries, but also that just someone can almost guarantee a finish if there's a millimetre of space there. And so maybe that's what he's looking at with Tuolangi. Timmy?
Yeah, I've actually got no reservations around Tuolangi being there. I think it's fine. And the reality is that the Cowboys have been terrible for the majority of this year. And when you're on a winger in a side that is struggling to go forward and getting beaten through the middle, there's not much you can do. You can't really have an impact on that game. You don't get put in try-scoring situations, and he hasn't. All right, sure, he could have been a bit better this year, but he's coming off a World Cup win on the wing for the Kangaroos. He'll slot into a Queensland team that will go forward. He'll get his opportunities. It'll be half a sniff, and I think there aren't too many better players that you'd give to finish off there. Statistically speaking, I think the thing that stands out for me most is that despite playing a pretty ordinary Cowboys side this year, he's averaging 141 metres. It's pretty solid.
And 9 line breaks.
And 9 line breaks. So, yeah, not getting the tries, not the best stats, but I think he'll come into a gun Queensland side and he'll be fine, and I don't think there's any query around that for me.
And in his defence as well, I think it's something we've spoken about all year, that we hate the way the Cowboys are using the left edge. Val Holmes constantly being used, running that over. Like it hasn't made sense to me all year anyway.
Val runs that hard line, and even when they do hit Val, he's just running this rock hard line where he's not really looking to catch and tip on and beat him. He just runs hard.
Yeah.
So Tuolangi said the opportunities haven't been there.
And so Holmes has been moved to the other side though, which is really, really interesting why you wouldn't keep Holmes and Tuolangi together. But we'll get to that. Now on to the Fox. I mean, what else is there to say? Just like Tedesco, he has been super consistent at Origin level. We were shocked when he wasn't in the side last year. And the Fox with a point to prove is a scary winger. One of the best wingers in the history of game, in my opinion.
The energy he was bringing to training the other day. I've never spent any time with Fox, but you always hear about how loud he is and everything he is. He did not shut up in the most positive way possible. I could not believe the energy he had throughout the entire session. It was like the energy he had about the most minor things that were happening, and you can tell it's infectious.
Yeah.
Other guys were just getting around him so much. It was unreal. He was having banter with them the entire time, and Freddie would say, go to this corner, and he'd run there screaming. And it just turns the entire tone of what's going on, And I was looking at them, and the Panthers boys, like, they enjoy themselves and everything, but they don't bring what Fox has, and we would have missed it so much last year, I think. I'd love to talk to the people in the camp and get their impression of, and that's what we see out in the field when there's a crowd there. Imagine what he's like around the hotel room, or all that sort of stuff. I love everything about Fox. I could understand Freddie not picking him last year. I got it wrong 100%, and I'm glad he's back in there.
Yeah, it's that you cannot express how important that intangible off-field quality that a guy like Fox brings, like the confidence, the energy heading into a game. I've spoken to, I guess, some people from the Origin camp last year. They did feel it was a bit subdued, a bit not as, I guess, energetic as the 2021 one, which is, it's easy to say now, look back on hindsight and be like, oh, here's a problem. Like, I think even though I personally would have chosen Fox, any reasonable person could understand why Freddie made the decision to go other players. Even if you disagree with it, you could be like, look, I get it, big body, a lot of meters, all that kind of stuff.
It's much like Fox to the Blues, Guru to this panel. He might have shit takes. He might know a lot about footy. But he's a good bloke. He brings energy to the bar. He brings energy to the show. And
lightning
it's intangible and lightning quick. And,
intangible.
It's more than you see on face value.
You are the Fox of the panel.
We wouldn't be what we are, Kempy, without Guru's energy.
No, I'm well aware, don't worry. What I did notice the other day, though, at Blues training was as soon as Payne Haas went down, Matty, did you notice it? Josh Adokar almost took it upon himself to get louder and to be bouncing around more, because you could tell there was a moment like, oh, shit, and we just lost our best front row forward, and he went to another level again. It's like he could sense what was happening in the room and knew that he could turn the gear up.
Yeah, it's so important. And we don't need to speak about, like, look how well he played for Australia.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable for Australia. And again, I feel like it's going to be the theme of the bloody show, but Origin is about these small spaces that don't usually exist. Like, big spacing exists in NRL games because the standard isn't high. Origin is all about the little moments, just the tiny moments adding up to big moments. And Fox takes those little moments and then turns them into big ones. So I can't wait to see
Well, when we sat here last week, the teams had just come out, and I was a little bit... I think I was just disappointed for Campbell Graham that he didn't get picked in the starting side. And I can't remember, but I think I sort of leaned towards saying, I think Campbell Graham probably should have got that wing spot. The more I've looked into it, I'm more than happy Josh Adokar's there. And I think, we'll get into the game plans and strategy that more and more, but I just think the Blues are going to try and emulate that 2021. I think they'll try and emulate the Manly Seagulls style attack where they play expansively, they give early ball, early spreads out of their own half, and that's where Fox's speed comes in. As you said, Kempy, give him an inch and he's gone and away and probably scores.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a lot of our game plan, and that's where you have Fox over Campbell Graham. So I'm really happy with the Adokar selection now, and I'm stoked that he's there.
To'o versus Cobbo. To'o 11 games, 5 tries, 1 try assist, 38 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, tackle efficiency 86%, averaging 203 metres. Insane. Cobbo, 12 games, 9 tries, 0 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, 87% tackles, and 163 average metres. I mean, those stats from Cobbo are pretty bloody amazing.
They're very impressive, aren't they?
To think that he has 53 tackle breaks compared to 38 of a To'o is pretty incredible. 9 tries compared to 5. I guess the argument, they've got equal line breaks. Obviously, To'o beats him in metres gained. The argument could be, if you checked Cobbo's error rate, it would probably be substantially more than To'o, but can you please check that for me, Matty? But I love the fact that we're going into a game with To'o, best ring in the comp probably right now.
Yep.
And yet, from a Queensland perspective, I think Cobbo's ceiling is probably higher.
Yeah, you said before, if you were to do an error count, Brian To'o would win that. But if there was a stat for just doing shit that you can't coach, Cobbo wins. As I said, we're up at Magic Round the other day, and he took an intercept that I'm not sure if anyone else in the comp would have taken that intercept.
Crazy.
It was going into the crowd. He managed to run it down in the air, get it, and then take it the distance.
Crazy. So Cobbo's got the most errors in the NRL with 22, and To'o's on 9.
Yeah. So that is the risk you play. That's the gamble.
And then Walsh is like second or third, isn't he, Matty?
Walsh is equal third, yeah.
So, like, that's the scary bit is, like, errors can absolutely kill you in Origin, but also you can have these crazy moments, and it's just it's why the Broncos, when they click into gear, they're the most exciting team ever to watch because they just go crazy, and you're going, what? This is so unorthodox.
Yeah, and you talk about those moments. I mean, like where we were sitting for game one last year, watching Selwyn go down the sideline and drop it on his toe, like at full pace with the size he is, to put in a little deft kick like that. Like he couldn't have, if he had another million shots of that, he couldn't have got it more right than what he did in that moment. That's what Origin's about, getting it right in that moment.
Yep. But in regards to game plan, I actually think they'll probably play a similar role. Like, I think Cobbo will be relied on to take a lot of the tough carries for the back three because he's the big boy in the back three. Well, Tuolangi is big too, but I think Cobbo is probably, they're going to need him.
He's the yardage man.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be what To'o is to New South Wales.
You're not going to kick to either of these two.
No.
And also that's where having between Tuolangi and Walsh, a bit smaller in the back three, it's where Val will come in as well. He'll run for 200 metres and be so big for yardage.
Yeah, absolutely. Now on to the centres. Crichton and Turbo versus Val and Hamiso. So it'll essentially be Crichton up against Val, we think, because now that may change because Latrell is no longer there. So maybe they go, let's put Hamiso on Critter and let's put Holmes, because my thinking is they moved Holmes to do a job on Trell, to try to do a job on Trell.
I reckon you're right. Because I was surprised when you boys said, that they were actually on opposite edges, but a big part of that must have been the Trell matchup.
It could be the opposite, though, because Hamiso did do a job on Tommy Trbojevic in his debut. So maybe that's why he got moved, because Hamiso to mark Tommy.
Do you think Slater's picking his teams based on the New South Wales side, though? I'm not sure if he would be.
I think we'd have some say.
Yeah?
I think we'd have some say, especially with those two players, Trell and Tommy. They're too good to ignore and just go, no, we're just worried about our game.
That Trell, I mean, it's redundant now while he's not playing, but the Trell on Hamiso, I know he did a job on Turbo, but that was like the matchup to target for the New South Wales Blues. So I could see why they flipped that around.
But and I know it's not going to happen now either, but I think at the same time, it would have. I think Queensland would have been excited for that matchup. Getting it, like the way that Latrell moves laterally, to have Reece Walsh and to have Hamiso coming down the edge, if you put him in the right spots, that was a spot that I was worried about.
Yeah.
And I thought it had more to do with putting Hamiso on Latrell for his sheer pace to try and beat them that way.
But they ended up there, so they put Holmes on Latrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they make that move and they pull Holmes across to Tommy and they put Hamiso on Critter.
Because as much as you're screwing up how you've been training, you're putting guys on there better. Like you're putting Val on his edge.
On his edge, yeah. Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how they run out. Really interesting. Okay, so as for now, we'll say Critter versus Val. Critter, 11 games, 6 tries, 3 try assists, 35 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 89% tackle efficiency, 121 metres. Val, 12 games, 3 tries, 3 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 6 line breaks, 77% tackle efficiency, 170 average metres. Look, I think that Critter's defence is outstanding at 89% for a centre. But you'd have to say Val in a team that's going that poorly is probably, I guess, he can step up even more when he gets around a good team. So you may see an even bigger jump. I mean, we saw it like we saw him when he played last year, and then whenever he does play Origin. But this is a matchup that went from, oh my God, Latrell Mitchell to, oh my God, there's a chance. Now, Critter could win the battle, but there's a chance that Val may win the battle.
Isn't it amazing? Like we've got 4 centres there in Origin. If you include Latrell, who was the 5th, none of them are being picked in the position they play at Clubland or on the side they play in Clubland. Like even the centres are getting picked on the opposite side to what they usually play.
Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. How do you see this battle playing out, Critter versus Val?
I find Critter so hard to analyse what he's doing. And as you said, his last 4 weeks have been amazing. Defensively before that, he was in a little bit of trouble. I don't know which to focus too heavily on. Do you think that Freddie's had a conversation with him in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, for
it
sure.
seems like a
For
sudden
sure.
thing that all of a sudden just changed.
His aggression went through the roof.
Yeah, straight away.
And he
Line
just-
speed, shooting out, whacking blokes.
He's stopped intercepting. Like
Yeah.
I haven't seen him go for an intercept for a while.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's a matchup I'm looking forward to. I wouldn't. I'd be playing Val on the left. I really would. I don't really get swapping them over. Doesn't make a heap of sense to me.
As in, you'd be playing him on Tommy,
Yeah, I'd be playing him at left centre where he plays.
even though Hamiso did a good job on Tommy when he played in 2021 game 3.
Yeah, no, there's that argument there. I just wouldn't be moving Val out. Like, instead of playing one guy out of position, you're playing two guys out of positions now.
Could he be playing out of position for club? Is there? Yeah, is there?
Thought about it from that angle? Yeah,
'cause-
maybe.
And maybe this is actually his preferred side. So if he's been moved to the left side, correct?
Yep.
So maybe he's actually a left-hand carry, right-hand fan, maybe.
Maybe.
Or defensively, maybe he's a right shoulder is stronger, and he'd rather defend.
Which edge was Val on when he won the comp for the Sharkies? Was he left or right? Was he right
I think he was
outside
right.
third?
I think he was right. And was he a wing? I think
He was a wing.
Yeah, I think he was right.
'Cause Barber was at fullback. Yeah.
Do you remember who the other winger was?
Fecky.
Jared Beale.
Becky.
Oh, Bill come off the bench.
He
What's
did
the
come off
side,
the bench
Fecky?
that night, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for this matchup. Critter versus Val. Wow. Dally M centers versus each other. That's exciting.
I think both teams are going to really fancy their opportunities here. Val is, I think, the best, well, without doubt, the best defensive centre of those four. But as it stands, he's also on the right edge of DC, Tommy Gilbert, and Cobbo, where I think the Blues will fancy themselves. So they'll be going at him. You look at Tommy Turbo, completely playing out of position. Was caught out a few times in the past, playing centre at origin level. Hamiso's playing out of position. Very few footy, a little bit of footy at centre, but he's still out of position.
Yeah.
Critter, who we spoke about his defence at times. I think both sides will look at opportunities here and be throwing a lot of footy at these guys, getting them to make decisions.
I reckon like New South Wales will probably be a little bit more confident because the form of Critter coming into this defensively has been outstanding, whereas Val Holmes' defence in his last game was like, really not great.
Val's D this season actually hasn't been that good by his standards, but you just know getting to
Gonna stand
Origin,
up.
Val will be 100%.
That's sweet. Mate, cannot wait for this battle. Now, the next battle. Turbo, 10 games, 8 tries. I mean, that... The fact that he has 8 tries, and we've been saying he's had not a terrible season, but a very quiet season for his standard. 8 tries, 7 tries, 37 tackles, 7 line breaks, 73% tackle efficiency, 191 metres. That is him on a one leg.
And, if someone said to you he's been terrible, it's probably not a hill I would die on to say don't call him terrible. By his standards.
By
he
his
has been-
standards.
Yeah, by his standards.
By a normal fullback standards, he's been solid.
These numbers are wild.
To be fair, 3 tries, 4 try assists, 34 tackle breaks, and 6 line breaks against the Raiders last week. So it's skewed a little bit.
But it's still incredible. And that's what some people try to send, didn't try, they did send through. So they're like, well, statistically, he's actually doing better than X years. And this is such a perfect example of stats aren't the be all and end all. Because anyone that watched Turbo play can show that he is not at 100%. Obviously, against the Raiders, he was playing at 100%. He was unbelievable. But that's scary to think. If he is clicking into gear now, and that's what he's done with one leg, what is he going to do with 2 legs?
Well, that was like me and Matty were talking the other day, watching him train and the way he was getting around, and we were just saying, if you had no idea what had happened in the last 2 months, you would think it was 2021 Turbo what was standing in front of us.
Yeah, wow. Fuck.
It's the one, yeah. I'm just so glad we've got him.
Seriously, unbelievable. All right, Hamiso. Now, these are fullback stats, and so is Tommy, so I guess it's an even comparison. 11 games, 10 tries, 3 try assists, 42 tackle breaks, 5 line breaks, 87% tackle efficiency, 142 metres. Now, obviously, Tommy has proven himself at Origin, and he's a special player, and you'd favour Tommy in this battle. But Hamiso has that magic about him. He does have magic, and he's not a player that I look at and go, there is no way that he comes out of this battle on top. There is a small percentage of me that goes, maybe he does. honestly, I reckon we haven't even seen Hamiso at full pace in the NRL. That's what it feels like. That we literally haven't seen him hit full pace. Now you can see that as a bad thing or whatever, but what I'm saying is like I still think there's another gear or two in Hamiso. How do you see this battle playing out?
Scares the shit out of me knowing that Hamiso is going to be on Munster's edge. That really, really worries me.
Because they have magic. They just got this weird... You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly right. And I also feel with Hamiso, like, you know, he's been incredible this year, but the reality is the halves he's been playing with, there's been a teenager and a multitude of 3 or 4 other guys. Like, once he gets a genuine ball player like Munster on the big stages like this, we've seen what money can do in the Origin arena. I'm very scared of Hamiso. And here's me 6 months ago saying, I don't even think he's a fullback.
Mate, I was with you. I didn't even know what position he was. And then he comes out and is part of one of the most... It's seriously one of the most incredible stories in rugby league. This Dolphins, we're living in it. And if they make the finals, we'll celebrate it. It won't be until 5 to 6 years' time when we look back and go, that was arguably one of the greatest things we've ever got to witness in rugby league. And he's been the focal point of it.
Start of this season, I did not think there was a hope in hell he'd be playing Origin.
Yeah, wow. To think.
And then 6 weeks ago, I'm arguing with him about why I think he should be in the side.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's incredible. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think with the way Queensland will play, it'll be like quite a high completion, high percentage type of footy, the way they always do, through the middle. Spend a bit of time roaming in around the ruck, just looking for a bit of second phase play. It'd make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Him and Reece Walsh sniffing around the ruck. So, my question to you, Kempy, is a genuine question. I'm not entirely sure. How do you feel about him defensively coming into this game? He's played a bit of centre for the Cowboys and at club level, not a lot. Was terrific in one game there a couple of years ago and did a great job in Tommy, but it was one game. Are you nervous? Are you semi-confident?
I'm definitely nervous about Hamiso and defence. But as I said, there are NRL players and then there's this step above NRL players. And I think Hamiso fits that category. And he may not have proven it over a long period of time yet, but it's like the point I was making in regards to I didn't even think we've seen him hit top speed. And so when you see a team and they've got a halfback or a 6 and they're just good, solid 6s or 7s, and then a veteran who everyone reckons their career is over, done, comes into that team. We've seen it with Chad Townsend. We've seen it with Adam Reynolds. Now, I'm not saying that they're on the same superstar level, maybe Adam Reynolds as Hamiso, but there is this like levels within levels kind of thing. And I think Hamiso fits on that pedigree of a super, super special player. And super special players step up to the moments. And so I think Hamiso will step up to the moment. But I am nervous in regards to if he is marking Tommy because even the best centre in the game could have troubles with marking Tom Trbojevic.
It's the other thing that, worries me about Hamiso as a New South Wales fan is that, he's had the last 20 weeks getting backed in completely by Wayne Bennett. And then Billy Slater rings him and says, I'm picking you over Dane Gagai. Like his confidence would just be sky high at the moment. And I agree with you. He doesn't have the resume to back up that he's an Origin player, but I get very early vibes that he is.
He just got that. There's something special about him. He just makes things happen. They just seem to happen around him. He seems to be in the right position. He seems to be faster than everyone. He seems to be able to handle the physicality of it all. Like, for example, if that wasn't a dead rubber and that was to win the series in Game 3, 2021, we'd be talking about it as one of the best debuts ever. If let's say the game was 1-1, Tommy still had the same series that he had, and then he shut down Tommy in that last game, we'd be talking about Hamiso like. But it was because it's a dead rubber, so no one really remembers it.
Well, how are Hamiso's stocks going to go if we're sitting here in 6-8 weeks at the end of the series? And he went from last season being unable to crack an NRL start in 13, and, there were circumstances. Drinker was killing it at fullback. There wasn't a spot for him, whatever. Really good Cowboys team that just weren't losing. And he comes in now, kills it at the Dolphins at fullback. If he comes in, Queensland win the series and he's done a job on Tommy Trbojevic at centre, his stocks will be like, just as you said,
infinite.
This bloke is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I also think that, especially now with Latrell, I'm imagining Hamiso marking Tommy Turbo for 80 minutes, which, technically he will be, but I wonder how much time Turbo's going to spend sitting at right centre, going one-on-one against
with
this
Trell
guy.
out.
Especially with Trell out now. I think he'll be roaming a lot more than what we're anticipating.
We'll talk about Turbo. We already spoke about it a little bit, but yes, I'm nervous about Turbo. I am super nervous about Turbo. This is a guy that has been a lot of negative chat around him this year, a lot of doubting. The last thing you want to do as an opposition fan is doubt a superstar like Tom Trbojevic, because that gives them fire. They've already experienced everything, maybe outside of a premiership win. He's already done everything at Origin. He's played for his country. Sometimes if you give them a reason to be great, they go and do just that. And Turbo has every reason to go out and be great. And that fucking scares me.
The highlight of my week so far has been watching Turbo through social media, hanging out with the guys, playing the music and dancing and singing. Turbo's just like, I just want to play footy. I just want to rip and tear on Wednesday night. I don't want anything in between. I find it so entertaining to watch him just navigate his way through this squad. That's a lot of high energy guys that we need it. But he's just there for business, isn't he, Turbo?
Oh, mate. If he didn't have a fire in his belly 2 years ago, imagine the fire in his belly now. All the doubters, everyone's saying he's done. And we also doubt, I'll speak for me, I won't speak for you boys, but I doubted whether he should be selected. Now, I always just wanted one good game out of him, but I doubted whether he should get more time to get his body right or whatever. So even people that are number one fans of Tom Trbojevic and think he is incredible on the field and off the field had doubts. He's heading into this Origin with the biggest chip on his shoulder and the most talent. It is the worst mixture that you can have as an opposition.
I wouldn't have picked him 3 weeks ago. Happy to admit it. And I look back now and go, what on earth were you talking about? And
you're basing it on fitness levels, and it wasn't there on what we saw.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of chat around Turbo. Is he carrying an injury? What's going on? And there's been a little bit of chat that he has just changed the way that he's been running and whatnot. And watching him train the other day and watching him against Canberra, I wonder if he's just gone, fuck it. I'm just going all in again. I wonder if he's been injured or if he's been holding himself back.
I reckon he's been holding himself back.
Yeah.
And then I reckon that he's had a conversation with whoever and said, I just can't play like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'm just not happy. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. If it's going to go, it's going to go. So just give me the chance to go out on my own terms rather than this weird middle ground where everyone's talking about my injuries and whether I'm 80% or 100%. How do you see Tommy impact the game, Timmy?
Yeah, well, for anyone who listens to me on this podcast and gets sick of me talking about roaming centres, it all stems back to Tommy Trbojevic, 2021 Origin, playing centre, and the way he just jumps around the park. And it just makes me so happy. And I thought that had reinvented the wheel in the way that I thought probably coaches would have taken it upon them more to get centres doing this. And it's happened in bits and pieces in the NRL, and we see it from time to time. And I think when we do, it's very effective. But Tommy Turbo at centre, the way he plays that role that I've never seen anyone else play it in my life, it's something to behold. And it's been a few years since we have seen it. I can't wait. It's like, you don't stick on the edge, mate. You're essentially a second fullback playing centre. You pop up wherever you want, whenever you want. And it must be terrifying for you because Jesus excites me.
I can just see him. Couple of tired forwards, couple of lazy efforts, and boom, he's straight through. And then you're just like, fuck, there goes the game. The game, 2 tries in the space of 10 minutes or something like that, and you're going, oh my God.
Well, they're him and Teddy, like we saw last in 2021. Them two roam around the right. There's half a sniff, someone goes through, Teddy gets the line break, Turbo's backing up again.
Yeah, and you're just going far out. Yeah. It's just almost impossible to stop. 2021, Teddy took the first hit up, Tom took the second one, and I think Teddy took the third. And I think Tom Trbojevic bumped Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. And so you're like, how is that even fair? How is that fair? A dude that big and fast can bump our biggest player. It's just, anyway, it's scary, scary stuff.